Jobs empower individuals, reduce poverty, enhance well-being, and drive social stability and economic growth. Africa's largest and growing age group, its youth population, is also its least gainfully employed. Of Africa's over 400 million youth aged between 15 and 35, an estimated 2/3 are either unemployed or vulnerably employed. By 2050, Africa is expected to account for 1/4 of the world's working age population, making youth employment a critical issue not just for Africa, but for the rest of the world. As part of the Oxford Martin School's Future of Development program, this podcast series, Africa Which Way Employment, delves into strategies for creating decent jobs that elevate incomes and ensure economic progress across the continent. Hello, and welcome to Africa Which Way Employment, a series dedicated to unpacking the multifaceted employment landscape on the continent, showcasing individuals and initiatives that are driving positive socioeconomic outcomes, and inspiring actionable solutions to job creation and economic equity. My name is Oluwatamilore Oni, and today I'm in Oxford and joined online by Lindokuhle Skosana, Sandiso Gcolotela, and Lewis Tanguhwar. They're all job seekers, or not job seekers anymore. They have since found sustainable and I guess more stable job positions, and they've taken out the time to chat with me about their journeys. In this episode, we'll be talking about their experiences in the job search, in the skilling process, and how they have found the current opportunities that they're working in, but also what the challenges and solutions and what they found most helpful in getting to where they are now. Lindo is a software engineer and founder of Legit and Elevate Up, which we'll hear about more. Sandiso is a production operator in the automobile industry, and Lewis is a cloud and data engineer in the IT sector. Thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so we'll start off with, I guess, to understand more about your journey from maybe uni or high school to now. Maybe share a bit about your background. Where did you start and where are you now? Because Lindo is at the top of my screen, I'll ask him to start, and then Sandy, you can share.
Okay, thank you so much, Tammy. So basically, I'm from a small village. We call them townships this side. That is where I went to high school. I went to my primary school in that very same township and high school in that very same township. I only moved when I was going to university. So my journey it had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of doubt in between. I also dropped out of varsity on my second year. I was studying aeronautical engineering, did not finish it. And after dropping out, I went unemployed for like 2 years without any education or working anyway. That was just me looking for a job, finding myself, and really navigating life. And and there was also some bits of depression involved, but I found South African Youth, which is a platform that really helped me a lot to land my first learnership slash bootcamp, where I now started my career, where I was taught coding by an institution that is in Yemen. And then that was successful. They taught me everything from scratch, and they also got me a job. So that is how I went from education to earning.
I love that. Did you say in Yemen?
Yes, in Yemen. That's correct. I did not physically go there. It was just an institution that was based in Yemen. And then we were just using Zoom calls for live classes and then using GitHub for projects. And I was submitting my projects through GitHub and they were marked on GitHub. And I also graduated online as well.
Amazing. I love that. And I have a few questions, but I also want to just move to Sandy and then we can come back. Sandy, can you share a bit more about your own journey?
Thank you so much. I'm from Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. I live in a township. It's not that kind, it's a location. So I went to primary school here in Port Elizabeth, my high school, and then after high school, I went to college. So I also had to drop out from high school because from college, I mean, sorry, because of some circumstances, and then I had to go look for work. But luckily, there was Harambe. So I went straight to Harambe, and then Harambe made sure that I found it easy to look for work because there was that training of work, and there's a lot of things they showed us with the networking. So it wasn't that difficult for me to find work. I would only go for like 3 months of being unemployed, and then I'd find some work until I found Ebor Automotive in 2019. So I've been with them for until now.
That's amazing. And thank you both for sharing. I think there's two things that you both have mentioned as, I guess, maybe sort of turning points in your journey. The first one, Linda, you mentioned the SA Youth, South African Youth Platform. And then Sandy, you've mentioned the Harambe program. So I want to sort of touch on those two specific programs and how did you find the programs or how did you get involved in the programs? What what was the journey within the program like? So is it like 6 weeks boot camp or is this a 1 year program or what exactly was the engagement with the program? And I guess what difference you think that intervention made in your journey, if it was anything, or if it's something else that you feel like was pivotal in helping to change the trajectory for your job search, or for your learning to earning journey, what would that be? Lindo, you can start.
I personally didn't go through the Harambe program. So Harambe and SA Youth are actually linked. SA Youth is an application or website of Harambe that helps young people to find job opportunities and to upskill themselves. So I did not go through the program, but I also know that Harambe does have a program where they take young people through each and every step of this employment search or job seeking. And I just heard from a friend about SA Youth. So when I dropped out of university in my second year, did not know what to do. I was unemployed and I was exploring everything that can help me find that first opportunity. But of course, because I did not have formal education, I did not have the right experience, I kept on getting rejected. So I wanted something that will give me that um, entry point experience or will get me that first job where I would be junior and work as junior with that leadership that will teach me skill. So SA Youth was recommended to me. So I used SA Youth. SA Youth as a mobile app. It doesn't even use data. It's a data free platform. And I went there, saw their opportunities, but I was all over the place. So I was not professionally prepared to navigate this kind of jobs because I didn't have any formal training. I didn't know what employers are looking for, and even though I knew what skill to learn, but I didn't know how to present it to employers. So SA Youth has a courses in their website where you can take them free courses. You can take a course that will show you where your talents are or where are you more powerful in terms of your skills, right? So, and you can also take professional courses, how to conduct yourself in an interview, how to speak, how to present yourself properly. And I took those courses, and I also took the course that showed me where is my skill most powerful. And I found out that I have a good problem solving skills, which really made me to go after programming more or go after software engineering more because it's all about solving problems. And then within this very same platform, you can search for jobs that align with the skill that you are strong in. And then I went there to search. That's where I found my first learnership on that platform, and that was the turning point of my life.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. Sandy, how about you? How did you come across the Harambee program, and what was the experience like while you were on the program? And what exactly was the program that you went through as well?
I actually went through, I came across Harambee on Facebook. So then I just decided to just go on to that line. I registered myself, and then I was called for those programs. I went through the work readiness program. They prepare you for a workplace. But I was lucky enough to be employed under Harambee as a brand ambassador. What we did there was to go out and source people that were unemployed, people that had grade 12, starting from grade 12, grade 10, graduates, and disabled people. So we go out and source people that are unemployed. Whenever there's jobs there, would link them up with the test they wrote there, with the jobs they had. We'd go to rural places and we'd go to the locations everywhere. And actually it made me realize that Harambee was helping a lot of people, because I saw a lot of people that went through that and that employment through everything that was there. And after that, it was a program for 3 months. After the 3 months, I was lucky to find a job at a call center. After that call center, I went back to Harambee, where they linked me up with Ebor Automotive.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. I think you both have highlighted something or a couple of things actually, that I find really interesting. And I think anybody who's, I guess, working within the job seeker space, or at least trying to support job seekers to getting into employment opportunities, are familiar with. I think the first one, Linda, you mentioned this concept of not even knowing what your skills or strengths are. And even if you do know what those skills and strengths are, being able to communicate them in ways that employers can understand and appreciate and then want to engage with you, and how the platform, the SA Youth platform, helped you to, first of all, understand what your strengths were, know how to apply those strengths in terms of shortlisting which career paths you wanted to go into, and then starting to engage with employers. And Sandy, you've also mentioned, how engaging within the Youth Accelerators program with Harambee was an opportunity to learn more about different job opportunities, see other people who are also, I guess, looking for job opportunities, and being able to get access to maybe a database of sorts, at least different opportunities that you might not have come across if you hadn't been engaged within the Harambee ecosystem. I think one of the questions I guess, to follow up on that is, it can be very difficult, right, in that space when you don't necessarily have the skills to get into the jobs that you want. And between the learning, when you're still learning or you're still doing your training, so Linda, while you were doing your training online with the coding bootcamp, and Sandy, while you're also doing your own training with Harambee and being an ambassador for their work, how are you still sustaining yourselves in that space? Were you looking for gig opportunities, or were you looking for short-term employment opportunities? What was the income generation process for you essentially in that time while you were still learning and looking forward to better job opportunities?
So basically, through that training process, I was receiving a stipend, but that was very little. It could only cover for my transport and my accommodation, not so much of my basic needs, right? So when I started learning, I didn't really generate much income for myself, or I didn't look for any part-time jobs, because I had to really focus on learning, since this is a new thing and they're teaching it to me from scratch. And it's also something that in university they teach for 4 years, and now I was taught in 12 months. Which was cut short to 7 months, but I'll tell you the story as we speak. So I had to focus on doing that. But when I was halfway through the course, I started understanding how to build websites, how to build tech solutions. So I started having my own customers on the side, applying my skills, and they would pay me for it. And yeah, that is how I got sustained for the remaining half of my term while learning programming. But the first half was really hard, I don't want to lie.
I hear you. It's also interesting, this concept of, I guess, you have to be, what's the word I would use? You have to be motivated is not the word, but it seems like you have to be doing so many different things at the same time. So you mentioned how on the essays platform, for example, you were learning more about like the employability skills, like how to communicate with employers, maybe CV writing and those sorts of like soft skills training. But then you are also doing the hard, more technical skills training via the coding bootcamp. And then you are also doing this part-time gigs as, working to help people build out their websites because you need an income in that space. So there's so many sort of different components to, I guess, landing in a place where that is more stable, and there's quite a bit of instability in this space. And I think you also mentioned the same thing, Sandy, how you're probably take a short-term gig, and then maybe 3 months you don't really have anything, and you take another short-term gig till you landed in your current role. In that space of uncertainty, while you're still trying to do all these things at the same time, what would you say you found the most helpful, or what would you say? I don't know, is it a program? Is it a support? I don't want to put, ideas or words in your mouth, but what would you say? And you can take a second or two to think about it. What would you say was the most helpful thing in, I guess, supporting you through that time of uncertainty till you landed in the role that you are in now?
What sustained me, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Or that you found more, I guess the question is, it can be you mentioned also feeling some level of like depression in that time, like, not feeling like you had the skills, and then on top of that, you then have to be doing all these different things. So you're learning a new technical skill, you're learning the soft skills, and then you're also then trying to engage with, income generating opportunities. So there's quite a few different things, and not it never ends, right? So throughout everyone's career, you're most likely going to be doing multiple things anyway. But what would you say was helpful in that time when you felt the most uncertain about where the path was going?
there are a lot of elements to it, right? I was motivated by a lot of things, and which I would like to outline them. Firstly, I was motivated by the township where I'm coming from. Um, I come from a township where there's no much access to um, job opportunities and opportunities to uplift your skills, or if you have a talent, we don't really have so much opportunities to nurture that talent and to see it grow. So I'm coming from a background that is, we were not poor, but we were in our middle classes, lower middle class, meaning not close to being wealthy, not close to being rich, but just affording basic things, right? And I knew that career-wise, that is not where I want to land. That's where my parents landed, which is good. They brought me up, and I think I should take it from there and do better for my kids, right? Do better for my family. So I had to have a strong career. So that is one bit that pushed me to keep on pushing. And another one is me dropping out of university. You see, in South Africa, when you drop out of university, there's a title that is put in your head. People assume that you failed. Well, in my case, I did not fail. I just fell out of love with what I was doing, because I studied engineering, aeronautical engineering, because my teachers told me it would be good for me, but it was not actually what I really liked doing, and I only found out when I was in university. So I had to remove that title on top of my head that I failed. So I really had to push myself to break through the chain of poverty as well, to be the first one in my family who actually makes a difference and who lives a better life than what we grew up living, and what we were at that time. And I can say that really fueled my motivation to keep on pushing when I was feeling depressed. It was the only thing that I was depending on. And I also thought in my head that I don't have any other opportunity if I blow this one up. So it was really that one thing that I had to make sure that it works. And it worked. Me and my family are living a better life than we were living before I found employment. I even have a family of my own now. I got married. I have one child,
Congrats.
a daughter. Yeah. And all of that was because I stayed motivated to see change in my life and to also live in a way that other South Africans who are in the top middle class or who are even wealthy are living. I knew it was possible for me to do the same thing as well because they are humans just like me. They also have 24 hours a day. So if they could do it, I could do it too. So that's what kept me on pushing.
I love that, Linda. I'm feeling so inspired. I can also relate because I studied architecture in my first degree. I knew that the experience I had in university wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. So there's also something about you being able to be, I guess, agile when you're thinking about what your career path is going to look like. So where you start is probably not where you're going to land at the end, and you being open to the change and flexibility when those either changes externally or internally happen. Sandy, I want to ask you a slightly different question. If you could sort of go back in time and ask for more support, what types of support do you wish you had more of when you started your, I guess, maybe high school or university that you feel like would have been very helpful for you in one, being able to know which pathways to pursue, and two, being able to know what you needed to do to succeed in those pathways?
I wish I had career coaching and financial assistance because you see, when I went out of high school, I knew I wanted to do civil engineering and psychology, but I had to pick I had to pick engineering first because there's a very scarce opportunities for psychologists that side in South Africa. So I had to pick the first one. And then I had to drop out because we lost a breadwinner here at home. So I had to be responsible. I found myself in a situation where I had to grow up and be responsible. So I think I also needed the financial assistance. I actually needed assistance with saying, okay, I can still go to school and I can still find a job. So at that time, I didn't even know where to start from. I just took a decision of just dropping out and going to Harambe. It was actually the first place I could think of because I could actually see there's some upskilling there. So I thought of it first. So I'd really advise a young person to actually take a breather and look for a career coaching because I think there is also a career coaching there at SAU. So you can actually look at what you would really like and what really inspires you and motivates you. So yeah, I think, yeah. And there's a lot of financial assistance nowadays. There's NSFAS and a lot of bursaries that you can get.
That's really interesting. And I think the point you mentioned about career coaching, similarly, I feel like it's also something that even experienced professionals will need career coaching, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years into one's career. How much more at the beginning of, that career journey. So another question would be understanding what skills employers need. Sandy, you mentioned wanting to do psychology, but not thinking there were a lot of job opportunities in that space, and then transitioning to engineering because it felt like that was where there's probably more employment opportunities. I think, Linda, you also mentioned something about knowing what employers need and how you are strategic about getting coding skills and so on and so forth. The question would be, as a job seeker, what were the things that helped you to know what employers needed? Were these conversations with your friends? Was this through the SAU's platform or Harambee? Like, how were you approaching that search to understand what employers need? The reason why I ask this question is that, even, like I say, even throughout your career journey, you continue to see that the skills that are needed in the industry continue to change. So, for example, we know that AI is also coming into play now, and there are loads of other skills that didn't really exist, or not necessarily exist, but weren't really in demand, say 5 years ago, and that has changed. So, how do you keep up to date with the skills that are needed by employers or within the employment space? Personally, now, this is for you, like in your own personal journey.
Yeah, I think, and this is a very important question because I'm in an industry where things keep on changing, right? So I would say what is important is to have these few important skills, which is problem solving, collaborating skills, and the willingness to learn, right? Because you see in tech, tools change very fast. They change all the time. They change every month to every year. They always change. But the core skills that you have, like being able to learn and being willing to learn and solving problems, those skills are timeless. They never expire. So as long as you are still willing to learn, you'll keep on keeping up on learning. So what I do is I create my side projects on the side. Um, and I'm also open to mentorship. I get mentorship every now and again so that I can channel all my energy into the right places, right? Because it's also easy to keep on doing a lot of work, but you're not really getting much done, right? So I'm getting mentorship as well. So now you see in a working environment, like in my current job, in my professional job, it's it's different because I'm working for a company. They tell me what to do, what to create, or what is it that they want, and which really limits your skills or it limits your learning because you get hooked into a loop of doing the same thing because that company prefers that thing to be done that way. But when you go to your personal project, you tend to learn new tech stacks, you get new skills, you learn new things. And yeah, I think that is really what is helping me now to align with what employers want because I don't think I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this company. And when I go to the next company, they would expect me to know things that they are using, the stacks that they are using. So if I don't educate myself, if I don't train myself, I'll be outdated, and that will be a problem because that would mean I'll have to now go back um, to school or to training to go and find that skill. And by the time I'm done with that skill, you'll find out that the skill has changed. They're looking for something else. So yeah, it's a very tricky industry. Yeah, but in order to navigate it, you have to keep on learning. Keep on learning new things. If you hear there's a new thing introduced, take 2 hours of your day to learn it. It wouldn't hurt, even though you're not gonna use it. Um, Learn it, use it on your side project, see how it works, and that makes you versatile. It also gives you a broad aspect of your CV, so that you can really cover a lot of things, a lot of jobs, and you qualify in a lot of requirements that the employers need out there. So in a nutshell, I would just say all that employers need is an ability to learn, is you being hungry to solve problems, to learn, and to be up to date with their systems. That's what they are looking for. And you can have all the skills in the world, but if you don't know how to sell them, it's also another problem, right? So you should also make sure that you keep on polishing your public speaking skills, how you present yourself, which is very important because sometimes what is written on paper can get you to interview, but on that interview, your CV won't get you out of won't get you successful. It's how you present yourself. It's how you sell your skills that you already have that will get you that job opportunity. So yeah, I would say those are the things that you must keep on learning and being dynamic about so that you don't become outdated. That the journey never ends, to be honest.
Yeah, this is very true. I can also testify to the fact that the journey never ends. I think what you've said would kind of direct me to maybe this would be a final question. Thinking about beyond just the skills for a particular job, skills that are transferable across different industries or in different companies or different organizations. And a lot of the rhetoric sometimes is that, instead of just looking for a job, you can also be an entrepreneur. You can start your own business and you can be an employer as well, and then, start to grow and scale something that would be income generating for yourself, for your family and communities. I know, Lindo, you've also founded two organizations in the last few years. So you have Legit Check and there's Elevate Up, which is also interesting because you're now trying to support job seekers themselves in their own journey in the way that you found support. But I also wanted to ask Sandy if you've tried entrepreneurship, or have you attempted to start a business? Well, how would you say, if you have, what were the challenges, or how do you choose between, getting a job versus starting a business? Because starting a business is typically not as easy as or as straightforward as, one would hope or would think. Sandy, any experience with entrepreneurship at all?
I don't want to lie, I don't have any yet, but I would like to have one because our economy doesn't allow us to have only a job. You need to have some side hustle to also create jobs for other youth. So I think I would like to try entrepreneurship, but I haven't actually found what I'd like to do. Something that would actually attract people to join that, to buy or to actually join my and invest in my business.
Maybe to wrap up, Linda, if you can share Legit Check and Elevate Up and what you're trying to do with that work.
Okay, so Legit Check is a platform where job seekers can come and validate the job post that they have or the job communication from their HRs, or maybe that they got in their emails that they should come for an interview, so they can verify if that is actually legit. Because in South Africa, I'm not sure if it's also happening in the world. We have a problem whereby people are taking advantage of the job seekers who are desperate for jobs. So they would ask them for money prior the interview. They would ask them for application fees, or tell them that they should send money for uniform, but they haven't even attended the interview yet. So to try and really solve that problem, I created a platform using two AI models, where those AI models will run a deep search into that company and will find if that post is available or not. And they will also look at the structuring of the email itself to give you a count of whether or not that job is legit or it's a scam, right? So it will give you a certain percentage, and it will tell you if this thing is less than 80%. It doesn't recommend you to try it. And if it's more than 80%, you can try it, but you must be cautious, meaning you should have a little bit more research. And it will also tell you not to bring things like your cell phones, your laptop, especially when they tell you to bring those things in an interview. An interviewer would never ask you to bring your cell phone or your laptop. So it really helps people to not to be scammed. And I also integrated an API where jobs can be advertised, so that job seekers can also come to our platform and see the jobs that are actually verified by us. All the jobs that are there are verified. We know that there's no scam, and then they can come and apply there instead. Also, which is part of an edition. And I also added some course in how to navigate or how to apply for your first job, how to write your CV, and how to present yourself in an interview. I have a series of courses that are there as well, that are provided by other external sources. Most of them are from people who are teaching in YouTube. I reference them on the website as well, so that the job seekers can get that kind of experience. Then Elevate Up is now helping young people at an education level, where they are still learning. They're still in maybe primary school or high school. So it's a platform that combines students with the relevant tutors. So if you are a tutor and you've done well in your matric or at school, you can come and register into our platform, and then students who need help will be connected to you through our platform. So you can teach the student online. Our platform has a whiteboard. You can share your screen. It has all these cool factors inside it. And yeah, so what these two projects really are, it's me trying to pay back or pay forward to the young people, right? Because I was also young like them. I was also unemployed, and I know the struggles of looking for a job or of being scammed while looking for a job when you are more vulnerable and you are desperate and people just play with you.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think we can wrap up on that. The note you mentioned about paying back, and I'm inspired by what two of you have shared. So Sandy, you mentioned being a brand ambassador for Harambe and being someone who's going out into communities to encourage them to get on the platform and also find job opportunities. So thank you for that work, and also Lindo for the work that you are doing with Legit Check and Elevate Up, and also trying to connect people to better employment and income generating opportunities. Thank you both so much for the time that you've spent with me. Thank you for sharing your insights. I'm sure that everyone who listens and watches will also find it equally insightful. Wishing you the best in your pathway and career journeys as you go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for joining, Lewis. Lewis is my Nigerian friend who is joining to also share about his journey. Lewis, this is Lindo and Sandy from South Africa. So Lewis, please share more about your background, so your career journey from, I guess, maybe uni days till now, or like post-secondary school till today. I'd love to hear more about how you've started and where you are now.
All right. Okay. I'll start from school. When I was in school, before I entered university, I had the opportunity to learn HTML. That was then, I didn't have a system then, so I was learning a cafe, like Sabai Cafe those days. So what I did, I borrowed a flash from a friend, and when I learned the cafe, I just save my work on the flash, and then so after school, people got admissions, and he left. He was school in a different state. I was staying in Benue, and everything I had on the flash, like I would say, let's say, disappeared or vanished. So I stopped until I entered university, and student level started to get a system for myself, and then I started. Then I was using like nice plan to download courses and the rest. That was how I started. So while in school, I had a couple of friends who were from the same college, because I did engineering. They're not in my department, we're all in the same college. And they went to the same secondary school, and then they had the tech background from school, because they did computer from secondary school and the rest, which I didn't do. So they actually started something, and I was like a common friend, so I joined them. So more like a startup kind of. So that was really how my journey in tech started. And then I also started the GDG and developer groups, Google developer groups. And I was also a community leader while in school. So that was maybe my basic beginning from tech. And then I'm there now. So that's
Interesting.
it.
What are you doing now?
Okay, currently I primarily work as an Atlassian tools engineer, and then also do cloud engineering, also offer cloud services. So that's what I do currently. All right.
Got it. So if I understand correctly, you did a lot of like self-paced or
Yes.
self-led.
Self-study, self-learning.
Yeah, self-study. So you are essentially, you started learning HTML before you entered university. That got paused. When you got to university, you then picked it up again. You started also having a community of friends who were working in, I guess, software engineering, and then also joining the community groups like the Google developer groups and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah.
But how did you then, so after graduating, what was the process like to then get into a job?
Okay. So, for typical Nigerian schools, especially those who go to public schools, when you graduate, it's like you're waiting for a year before you go for NYC and the rest. For my own case, it's even more than a year, because our results come out a year after. So this might not be the time before maybe NYC get mobilized. So that period when you finish school and like there's nothing to do, either most people maybe get like a part-time job, or just a temporary job somewhere. So for me, that period, I got something like that. And while I was doing that, I know that my evening and nights were mostly studying and just learning, because what I learned in school was when I had time. So now I was actually out and actually looking for something. Of course, many places to go, they want to ask you if you have served them. But they're not willing to give you something tangible, because they know you will soon leave and go for service, or so they can retain you. So that period, I was actually trying to skill more. And then that was when I started to try different things. I started from web development, but at that period, I now say, okay, I knew about machine learning, data science, cloud engineering. I think that was when this thing also came up, the African Google African Developer Scholarship. And then I started LC then, yeah. And that was I was like, okay, I want to leave web for Nigeria because everybody around me was in web development in the community. Almost everybody were either Android developers or mobile developers or web developers. I was like, okay, I don't want to do web again since everyone is. Let me look for something else. And I settled down for data and cloud engineering. So learning both of them like side by side, hoping that along the way, whichever one maybe I get the opportunity first or something comes up first. And that was I started from there. Yeah.
But I think one of the questions I also asked the previous group was how you decide what skills you want to focus on.
Okay.
Because essentially you want to know what skills the employers need, right? So you talked about like web versus data or cloud, and like how trying to select which one you wanted to focus your energies on. So for you personally, how do you, and it never stays static, right? So even 10 years
Yeah.
on in
Yeah.
your career, you find out that you need to change or learn something new.
Yeah.
With AI and so on and so forth, how everything is moving so fast, you end up needing to maybe upskill again in a year or 2 years. How do you keep up to date with the skills that employers are looking for?
Okay. So for one thing, I always tell people first of all and tell myself that certain tech skills are transferable. You can transfer them maybe from one discipline to another. Of course, not all. So if I'm going to a new field, at this stage, I don't feel I want to start maybe totally from scratch. So always try to leverage on skills already existing or from where I'm coming. I look at what is closer to it and delve in there. Yeah, of course, in the tech field, you just have to keep on learning. There's no to that. There's no like. I mean, how would I put it? There's no that route. You just need to keep upskilling yourself. Of course, we know that technology evolves, and as technology evolves, even the skills required to also constantly need to be updated or modernize or skill whatever. Right? Just like if you learned maybe JavaScript 2 years ago, now things have changed. They have added something, so you just need to keep up with the new thing. Yeah.
But would you say you're learning on the job? So those skills that you didn't necessarily have direct experience or prior training or in, you then are learning or you started learning on the job.
Yes, I actually learned on the job. Especially when it comes to the world of Atlassian itself, I learned more. And even for cloud, I already had experience. Kind of, I learned some mostly with Google, but coming to my place, we are using AWS, not Google. So of course, learning AWS and Google, they are not too different because the basic idea is the same thing, just different platforms, different technologies. But for the Atlassian ecosystem, I actually had to learn from scratch because I knew just Trello. I had to start learning Nigeria, data migrations, and then and the rest. So of course, my first 3 months, the first month was basically learning, actually learning, like learning. I started working on the beginning of the second month. I was actually meant to start working after 3 months, but then I started working from on 2, and
Okay,
I've gotten better. Right.
amazing.
Mm.
If you were to look back and ask for more support, what types or kinds of support would you have found really useful that you felt like you didn't really have, whether it was in
Initially,
uni or like during NYSC or, and it could be support from anyone or any institution, whatever it is. What types of support would you have found very helpful for you in your journey, at least helping to either get to where you are faster or get to where you are more efficiently or like just give you more direction?
okay. For me, the first one I would say at the very beginning it was mentorship, right? That was the very first one because I got that where I was when I started. I didn't really have anyone to look up to or ask, okay, what's if you want to be able to look back, what's the career pathway? Like what should I learn? I just got that then I tried to learn different languages, different stuff. Probably the time I used trying to go learn here and there, and I just maybe focus in one direction. I know that I can't be master of all at once. You need to focus on AI before going. So for me, mentorship was the first thing that I lacked until maybe some of these scholarship programs came up. That was the first thing I understood for myself. Then secondly on the job, I always feel that yes, you are newbies, but then sometimes they just have to maybe trust you more. I knew that initially they are skeptical of maybe putting in front of customer or allowing to work on a distance. So you're more like you're doing like kind of support you don't meet the clients, they do meet and you come to work, and it's like micromanage to do work, which is not bad. I just feel that maybe the earlier you get exposed to customers actually helps you in terms of not just your technical skills, in terms of all around like communication, sign and all those things. So I don't that is very, very dicey because at the end everybody wants to put out the best talents and tell the organization, okay, we have the best skills. So they might not want to put someone new. So I understand that part. But that is something I feel some beginners today they really struggle with. It takes time for them to grow and become independent. So if they are put on the projects, they might now start learning all over because they didn't have that experience early enough. So these are the two things I can see.
I really like the note on mentorship. And both you and Lewis and Sandiso, I think, said this. So you've mentioned how mentorship is, helps you to figure out where to focus your energy. So you know that you don't need to do 3 or 4 different things, but okay, this is the key thing that someone who is either ahead of me or in a place where I want to be can give me that direction, at least help me to save time and save my energy as well, or at least focus my energy in the right ways or on the right things. And also, I think the second point you also mentioned about, I guess, trust in the workplace and employers giving you the room to say, okay, yes, this person is able, at least putting them in spaces where they can engage with real parts of the business, whether it's client facing or internal or technical or whatever it is earlier in their journey, career journey. One other thing I'd be intrigued to know is because you mentioned, having to do upskill yourself on all these different things, and I think that's the same thing. Most people who are trying to get into some sort of new job opportunity, they're like learning or doing several courses at the same time, also trying to, have some sort of income. Maybe they're doing 3, 4 courses and also doing a gig work or a gig job at some point. How are you able to sustain yourself within that time in terms of income? Like, what opportunities were you able to do part-time, or were you able to do anything part-time? How are you essentially managing that time of I guess, the uncertain time?
Okay, so let me I'll just go to my very first job. Yeah, so when I got that first job, the condition was there. I had to have an accommodation where the job was located in Abuja here. And I was in Abuja then. So I had to come stay with a friend. So that was number one. Of course, the pay wasn't much because I stayed like an intern and then it's converted. So yeah, and then I just had to okay, I knew how much I was earning. I was trying to manage myself. And then I think at the point I was doing so now, okay, we had something like we do an academic training. And for some people, they prefer you do, instead of coming to the office, they prefer you do, come to their houses and the rest. So at a point, I also got independence outside the office. I got teaching opportunities. So as long as I was doing my work Monday to Friday and Saturday, Sunday, I had to go for training to train someone at home, just to complement what I was earning from the job, the rest. So for me, luckily, since I was staying with someone, I didn't have to do the initial expenditure too much because I didn't have to rent my house. Then I stayed with someone, so accommodation was maybe free, and then I just contribute 1 or 2 things, the house and the rest. So that was like up for the initial period.
Yeah. It can be really tough, to be honest. It can be really tough in that process of, I guess, looking for something that's more stable and you know that, okay, I've landed in quotes in something that I know that is sustainable for me and my family. I remember during our briefing call, I can't remember her name. There was one of the ladies that was on the call with you, not Kemi, the third person. She was talking about how even though she's got a job now, she has so many friends who are still looking and are still in that sort of uncertain space. And I'm sure you probably can also testify to the same, Lewis.
Sure.
What would you say would be most helpful for those of your friends now who are looking for job opportunities, who haven't yet found one, who are also still probably in the upskilling space, but are looking for opportunities to, one, grow their skills, but also grow their experience? Are there things that you feel like can happen now that are missing that would be helpful to them?
Okay, yes, for one. Okay, one of the things I always tell them is, while looking for a job, sometimes you don't have to wait till you land a job before you do something, right? Now, if a data science, if I maybe have data science skills, have web skills, while waiting for a job, try to see what you can do on your own, because the day an opportunity comes, my first thing they'll ask you, they don't care about your tutorials or how many certifications you have. They actually want to see what can you do or what have you done, right? So that's one. There are people who, yeah, they keep on like they're in this learning cycle and they don't try to maybe to just little projects with what they've done. I always feel it's going to make a difference when they have opportunity. Try to do what you have. And then secondly, another thing is people, I don't know, I feel people tend to give up this on job applications easily. Because I remember how many times me I applied then. But these days, someone applied 1, 2, 3 and like, oh, it's not working. They didn't get back to me. I'm always getting, stuff. So I just feel that spirit of resilience. Maybe for some people, I don't know. I don't want to blame anybody, but I just feel sometimes
Yeah.
you should just keep on going. You don't just give up because you've gotten 10 rejections. I have a friend who had 349 rejections, and that was what prompted him to go and get in tech. Yeah, and he ended up working practitioner, working somewhere else now. So I've seen people. I also have someone in Ireland who actually 379 rejections before he got a job with AWS. Yeah, and he's in Ireland currently. So, but these days, I meet people who, after 5 times, they're like they're tired. They don't want to apply again. So I just feel that resilience. Until you get what you want, don't quit. If you quit, you might miss out just maybe when it's in the horizon. So these are the two things.
But I think you raise a point there in terms of like if someone applies over 300 times,
Mhm.
I mean that takes a very unique level of resilience. Maybe not unique, but it takes a degree of resilience to want to keep on doing that. And I think
Mhm.
there's different issues there. So one is that maybe they're not presenting their skills in a way that
Mhm.
employers need, and they've needed that time to kind of refine either their CV or whatever it is that is sort of entry points into those roles, or they're applying. There's something I came across, an article I came across recently about the best time to apply is you apply as maybe the first week of a job posting, or you're not likely to be like
Mhm.
shortlisted. So there's all manner of different factors that people don't necessarily know when they start the job search journey, and it feels like these are the things that need to be smoothed out, and there's a bit of research and loads of different programming that is helping to, I guess, solve for this. I know that you're also part of
Yeah.
the Data Science Nigerian network. How has
Yes.
that been useful or helpful to you as you've navigated your own career trajectory, and also for people as well who are in the community who are looking for opportunities? How has that been helpful to you?
Okay. Yes. So for me, my very first experience with data was when there were these programs and the AI innovations which were done in schools across universities in Nigeria. So that was my first. So then actually wanted getting it to my school, but I couldn't. It wasn't possible. So I joined the students in BSU, another school, in my state, and I actually left my school to go and attend. So that was my first. Yeah. So I think one thing I really enjoyed from DSN was I got the scholarship and DSN scholarship then on data camp. Yeah, and that was really what's helping. Because when actually wanted to do data, I was really like at a loss where to start from and how to go about it. But with DSN, it's really changed a lot, and that was what opened my mind to data. Right, and when I was moving to cloud, it wasn't new again because I already had said did something with data camp, and when the Google and scholarship also came, it was something like. So yeah, so for me, DSN was very helpful, and of course, like I did a fellowship earlier before I even got a job, the web job I spoke about then. It was actually based on the skills I got from the DSN scholarship, what I learned there, because I did it as a data analyst. Yeah, so that was my very first professional work experience was all courtesy from what I got from DSN through the scholarship. So that was
That's
it.
interesting. But in a sense,
Mm,
that could also be like a pivotal moment, right, for you in terms of thinking, okay, you getting into that community was then
mm,
a sort of linkage to all the other opportunities, whether it was the Google scholarship or the DSN scholarship
mm,
or the job opportunity that you eventually got as well. So there's quite a few things that I think that paints a picture here. So on one hand, you're having mentors that will help you to like streamline what it is that you're focusing your energies on. Then being a part
mm,
of a community that that is linked to either funding opportunities or job opportunities or learning opportunities that will connect you to the places where you want to go or you want to be. And
yeah,
I see that across all three stories here. So each of you having experienced that, I guess the desire to find a better opportunity and then connecting with the networks through these different platforms, whether it's SA Youth or Harambe or the Data Science Nigeria program, that then helps you to broaden your horizon and also get into those income earning opportunities. And it's been really lovely to hear and to learn more from you. I think to wrap up, maybe one final question. 1 second. Okay, so you might have also answered this already to some degree, but maybe the other things that come to your mind if I rephrase it in this way would be like, what would you say were the biggest challenges to getting into where you are now? So, because when you think about challenges, and you can think about how to solve for them. So you've mentioned like mentorship, for example, as an opportunity to streamline your efforts. But if you were to go back to Lewis, I don't know, 5 years ago, what would that Lewis say was the biggest challenge that he was facing while searching and while trying to pursue a career in tech?
Okay, yeah. So if you go back 5 years ago, typically for me, my challenges, I think I had, let me say three, I'll call three major ones. So yeah. And one, okay, location was part of it because I was in Macaulay in Benue State. Yeah. So, and of course, most jobs like tech, you might be probably Abuja, Lagos, elsewhere. You will not see someone like Macaulay or Benue State. Maybe people will talk about that. And then secondly, I think it's cost of training and certifications to another thing. Yeah, sometimes when you go, you see a course and you can't just afford it, especially when you're not working or you're trying to find it. So cost of learning resources was actually another thing. That was two. And then I think the final one was, let me say, opportunities themselves, yeah. Because then even if you see some opportunities, they always want to see ask you for experience. You might see an entry role, you read the description, and you now go and see 1 year experience, 2 years, or blah blah blah. And you've just been learning, or you've just worked on only your self projects, not really have that real work experience anywhere before. So I think for me, those were the three biggest things: face location, cost of learning to get better, and certifications actually too, and then opportunities that we need to actually take entry level people without experience, or maybe with less than 1 year experience. Yeah, so I think these are the three biggest for me.
Because I know a lot of people say, maybe don't think about jobs only, think about other ways to earn an income.
Okay. Yes, I did consider it, yes. And I actually joined my friends then. When I was in school, yeah, I started something. Yeah, but of course, and at that beginning, now there was like there's none of us here who has maybe work experience outside within what we're doing, right? So we're doing it based on what we knew and maybe what we felt was going to skill and going to sell. Yeah. So I think we were there like 2 years or so, but eventually it went down. I think probably that was because maybe we didn't have maybe proper business sense as of that time. I would say like that. And of course, with time, everybody moved to different locations and everything just went down. Yeah. So that was it. And then secondly, at a point I also felt out, yes, even though I say yes, entrepreneurship is good, but then I don't think it's wise for me to just jump into it. Let me get work experience. Let me understand maybe business world, tech skills and everything. If I come back later on, I think I'll be much more maybe better place to tackle it, because when I was this fellowship I spoke about then, I did with this telemedicine company and Wella Health. I don't know if you know about them. And now the founder told us something. When he was based in US, he came to Nigeria to start Wella Health. After some years, he had to leave and go back because he didn't have funding, and he had to go back and work for 3 or 4 years before he came back. And Wella Health is what we know today. So I actually learned something then. You might have all the good plans and ideas, everything, but then running a business maybe it might not just be as sweet as simple as it sounds in your head. The ideas are very sweet on paper, maybe in your head, but then when you actually want to do the implementations, that's when you know that okay, you have to meet up with maybe government regulations, policies, all those other things. So I know that yes, having entrepreneur mindset is good, but then if I jump now, what I have to fall back to, okay, beginning, maybe I'm just starting as I need to convince you to maybe leave Google I'm using to come and use my product. That's going to be very, very difficult. I'm not known. What's like to convince you to leave, except my family friend or my friend or sibling or something. So that starting points can be difficult. Funding is an issue. We all need fund. In fact, you need money to make money. So you need funds to run your business before you can actually start, profit. I just feel that yes, entrepreneurship is good, but at this level, let me get more experience technically, and then maybe get opportunities, connections and network, and I can actually go back to that later. That's my own personal view for now. So for now, I feel going for it now, it might be like so difficult for me at the moment. Yeah, so that's it for me.
No, so this isn't even like trying to encourage you to go into entrepreneurship. I was just curious as to whether or not something you considered while you were thinking about what different opportunities you wanted to pursue. If you're going to give one piece of advice to, a policymaker or someone, Minister of Youth Empowerment or Youth and Employment or Minister of Labor and Skills or whoever it is, and whether you're from a university or Data Science Nigeria, maybe in fact, like what would that advice be to support more job seekers into good job opportunities or to good income generating opportunities for themselves?
Okay. Yeah, I think for me is one thing. I'll tell them to actually be deliberate about tech training very early in schools. And I want to grow relief from other countries. I see countries who introduce things like coding as very tender age for students and pupils in school, and then maybe in each university they can drop it off. I feel we need that in Nigeria too, because and I'm saying, talking for myself and also from experience I have with people who read computer science. I didn't read computer science myself. I know people who read computer science in Nigeria, and after they finish school, after they now actually want to start learning the real, maybe put the real computer inputs or the real computer or software skills that you need. So it looks like while they're in school, what were they doing all this while? The 4 years they spent in school studying computer science or computer data course, they now finish, and that's when they now say, oh, the eyes are open. Okay, I have to go and start learning something. So I just feel maybe our education should actually be tweaked in a way to maybe actually make people who need to learn tech skills learn it right from school. Just the way sports is right from as more. And I believe that's just easier, because at the end of the day, when you're looking for a job, not just apart from the technical skills you need, there are things which you don't just learn, which are not taught in school, like those soft skills and the rest. But I believe if as education maybe streamlined to actually prepare people for tech jobs before you graduate, probably if you have experience with maybe having soft skills and actually the technical skills, then it's easier for you looking for a job. So yeah, it might be good technically, but then there are also soft skills. It's another thing when you look for a job. When there are 10 candidates, you need to pick up one. They're going to consider not just the technical skills, the soft skills are going to matter, and everything, communications and the rest. So I just feel education should be maybe stuck in a way that should actually prepare people so when they are leaving school, even at entry level, they'll actually be good and be okay for those rules. That's what I'll say personally.
Yeah, and that's very helpful. I think you've kind of landed on a really important point about, foundational skills and practical skills as well. Because one thing to kind of learn theory of computer science in school and then come out and realize it's actually not applicable in the job market today. And then also having the skills that you actually need to thrive in a job, beyond the technical skills.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey, Lewis. It's been very, very insightful speaking with you, and I appreciate the time that you've taken to have this conversation with me. And I'm sure that everyone who's listened and watched this will also find it or has found it very, very insightful as well. So thank you, and wishing you all the best in your various pursuits.
Thank you so much. I wanted to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So that brings us to the end of the Africa Which Way Employment podcast. And it's been very enlightening for me, and I hope for everyone who's joined. I've enjoyed having different perspectives and learning about how everyone within the sector is thinking about employment and job creation in different ways, but also in complementary ways, whether it's about foundational learning or about mentorship and soft skills training, or whether it's about thinking about how research can be applied practically in real time as the research evolves and as the job market evolves as well. Whether it's about thinking about future skills, the future of work, AI, and how that impacts job creation and what skilling programs should look like. Whether that's about capital markets and how macroeconomics impacts job creation and employers and relationships with employees. We've also talked about linkages between job search and how to ease frictions between employers who are looking for people who to join their teams and people who are looking for income generating opportunities. And we talked about the green economy. We've talked about how Africa can position itself to have a comparative advantage and also create markets for young people to get into jobs. And finally, we talked about entrepreneurship and how there are opportunities for businesses to be more productive, so scale their productivity so that they can scale job markets and open up more job positions and job openings for young people across the continent. And I think one thing I will take away is that there's more, not more. There are opportunities for more and more engagement within the ecosystem. So more and more learning or knowledge sharing opportunities. How can we come together, whether it's implementers, whether it's policymakers, job seekers themselves, to come together to create holistic solutions for young people, to come together to create a better, more sustainable learning to earning cycle, to come together to create more responsive to the changes in the labor market, changes in technology, changes in the skills that are relevant, changes in that we don't even know will happen, that we need to start anticipating now. And I'm hoping that these conversations have inspired. I've learned so much, and I'm also already thinking about other ways to continue to take these learnings into research that I'm doing, into engagements and conversations that I'm having. And for myself, I'm thinking about ways that I can be a part of positive, sustainable, and scalable solutions to unemployment on the continent. There's so much that is changing, and it's changing really fast. And there's so much work to be done. And I'm hoping that we can do it together. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. Thank you for listening. And till next time.